So people are going to judge you. They're going to judge you whether you like it or not. A lot of the times, the judgments that are occurring behind the scenes, behind the eyes, um, in someone's mind, is what I'm saying. We don't know. We don't know the whole thought process, and a lot of the times it's neutral. All right, it's neither for nor against. However, um, we do know when it is more explicit, when someone says, you know, I don't like you, or I like you, or more likely and more often through actions. Hey, let's hang out. Okay, let's go hang out. What do you want to do? Let's do this. Okay, that sounds cool. I'm looking forward to it. And it's easy to see these judgments as being for or against your person, but that might not be useful in itself either, for or against. This, in a way, is your ego making a judgment. Oh, this person is for me. And inflate, expand. Yes, I am important. I'm a valuable entity. Or against, again, that can lead to some emotional pain or discomfort. Oh no, your ego is under attack, and it's trying to make sense of it. It needs to understand. Um, the ideal is to reach a place in your life and in your mind, and you can do this through meditation and through self reflection and just rest. Sometimes all we need is just rest. And naturally, we will process such emotions and reactions to how people are treating us poorly. In most cases, that's probably why you're watching this, because you're probably not interested in this information. Because the good stuff is, hey, great, a lot of people like to be liked. It's normal. It's human. But to seek it out and to expect it, um, that's worth examining if that is actually good. I mean, do you want your self worth to be built on or built through and in the eyes of others? What about you? You're a person, you exist. What about your value? What about believing in yourself, trusting yourself? So people will judge you, all right? Those judgments might be seen as for or against. And, we like to say, oh, people don't judge or I won't judge you. But this is a fairy tale. This is not true. People are always judging. I remember when I was growing up, I was talking to my best friend's mother about judgments, just in terms of judging people. And we had a disagreement because I thought, well, you need to judge. You need to use judgment to navigate in reality, rationally speaking. If you're not using judgment, you're not using your mind. If you're not using your mind, you're just, your emotions are like a leash. Where's the logic? Where's the conscious and conscientious decision making? And we even looked it up in the Bible because she was citing something that said, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." And what I found was, this is just an anecdote, but that is not even a quote from the Bible. And apparently in the Bible it says, I haven't read the Bible end to end, but apparently what it does say in the Bible is to judge your neighbor fairly. Judge your neighbor fairly. So there is basically an encouragement to fairly use your own mental faculties to evaluate your fellow human and whether or not you want to invest in a relationship, a friendship, or whatever with that person or persons throughout the course of your life. And emphasis on the word fairness, too. I would include in that, an effort to be objective in general. But it's important to be conscious of this and even embrace it in yourself. But recognize that, both in yourself and especially in other people, the word rational, it assumes that we are freely capable of being rational, when in reality, being rational in terms of our judgments, it takes work. It takes a conscious effort. Most of the time we're just filtering, you know, life and the data that's coming in through a complex neural filter of emotions, ego, and past experience, rather than a filter of evidence-based logic and reasoning, which again requires conscious effort, requires one to slow down. Okay? And what people call intuition can sometimes be effective. Intuition oftentimes is really just built on pattern matching over time. It becomes ingrained in us so that without even, examining the line of thought, okay, well, based on my past experience and the reasoning and blah, 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 and the evidence showing blah, 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 this is the conclusion. Intuition is more like a shortcut through all of that, where you kind of like have accumulated this experience and you just intuitively know, okay, yes, go in this direction, or no, don't. And intuition, there could be something deeper at work there, but that's beyond the scope of this video at the moment. But it is worth saying, and I've seen it very often, that what a lot of people would call intuition, without examining it can lead you astray. Because intuition, a lot of people would classify it as, well, do what feels good. I mean, if you just only do what feels good, you're going to be led down a path to hell. That you're going to be led by your emotions, by pleasure, and pure avoidance of any pain or discomfort. So how do you deal with this? How do you deal with other people judging you? Because it's going to happen constantly, and some of the times it's not going to feel pleasant at all. Well, even if the person is, presenting in a rational or straightforward or direct manner. So how do you deal with that? Well, I'll tell you what I do. And recently I had a situation where I felt like someone was judging me. And when people say judging, of course, it's not just the use of rational judgment. It's both. It feels like a permanent, it can feel like a permanent label, like, oh, like, but that's not me. And why don't you see like who I really am, and blah, blah, blah. So in this situation, I was judged by someone, and it was unexpected. It was someone who I had plans with, and we were still getting to know each other. And we had hung out and talked for a while on several occasions. And then this person sort of did a flip, where we had plans. She canceled them, and something about it felt to me like a judgment. And so I had to sort of step back and say, okay, well, why is this happening? Should I feel, is the negative emotion where it's something to do with ego and resistance to just the examination even of, okay, well, what exactly happened? And truth be told, I don't even know exactly what happened. Sometimes people just themselves, what might seem like a judgment, where that can hurt, has nothing to do with you. It has something to do with, their filter on reality, and or maybe just a misalignment of values. Maybe they just don't value what you value. And as I stepped back to look at this situation with this person who I felt was judging me, and I wasn't really sure why, I started to make some assumptions. I started to think worst case scenario. And it's important to know that, what is consciousness? Consciousness is the one who watches, right? It's you watching yourself, kind of react to certain things as life is going on. And this helps you to be present, but it also helps you to examine situations like this. And so my mind immediately went to worst case scenario. Okay, I'm aware of this now. And then I became more aware, okay, well, actually, I don't even know why this person, just sort of said, okay, like, had fun. I just don't want to hang out again or proceed further. Okay. And then I looked at it further, and it was like, well, actually, I kind of did things, I kind of did a couple of things on purpose where I kind of knew, all right, well, this is my authentic self. I'm not going to hold back. And I kind of knew also, well, I know what I value. And I kind of didn't like the things over here that this person valued. And truth be told, I actually thought about canceling the damn plans myself as well on several times. Um, and then, if you want to try to use what some might call a positive psychological tactic on yourself, you could do a reframe. All right. And so my reframe on the situation is, well, okay, well, I don't have to drive, um, the little amount of time. It was about an hour drive to see this person. Um, and I get to save that time. I get to put that time into someone or something else where the values and the interest is more mutual and more aligned. Someone who I believe values better things. Um, because, if you see yourself as a positive person and if you believe in your own value and you have your own self esteem, well, why care so much? At the same time, it can be useful to understand because, again, you need to process this. So, again, what can you do? Well, I encourage you to go through the same process that I'm about to explain here and write it down. Write it in a notebook or just, I like to type sometimes because not everything I think is worth journaling about. But if I want to process a little bit faster, but, talking, in like a recorded voice note journal sort of a fashion is not really the best. I think really writing it down. So if you want to go a little faster, you can type sometimes. So I found it useful to do that, although journal I think is the most ideal. And so what I recommend you do and what I found useful for situations like this where you kind of want to, you know, logic your way through the emotion, which again is sort of a reaction trying to maybe bounce the situation or reflect the situation off of yourself so that your ego is protected. Um, well, understanding the reasons, let's start here. Understanding the reasons why someone judges you, it can be useful. Okay, you want to interrogate the situation a little bit. It can be because it can be useful. At the same time, let's begin with, well, do you want, want to be trapped in a prison of maneuvering and sliding around other people's expectations or opinions of you to be something where it's like, well, ultimately, you have to be an enigma. You have to be completely mysterious and never saying anything about yourself because then everyone will like you and or at least have a neutral opinion of you because you're so mysterious, because you're not expressing anything that is actually authentic. Well, is that good and is that true? No, it is not, because doing that is exhausting. It's exhausting because your authentic self will be censored and no one will ever get to know the true you. And you will also feel disconnected, alienated, alone. Um, it's not going to be a good feeling. When we put up a guard, okay, with people, we do that to protect ourselves, and people do that with us too, because they, over time, life can just kick the shit out of you. It can kick the shit out of a lot of people, and it feels that way. And so we tend to, in many cases, for many people, recede back into ourselves. We want to put up barriers, right? Um, so if someone judges us, it's first important to understand that this is normal, okay? This happens to everyone. You do it. They're going to do it to you. It happens in every human interaction. And again, we only truly know it when there's something voiced or communicated through some sort of action from the person. And try to be aware that when you see this judgment, you are seeing it through the filter of for or against. But again, this is external to you. And our goal is to not be so externally focused in terms of our self-worth and our consciousness as people. Notice what is happening, but be aware of that filter and how that in itself is biasing you. When you experience judgment from someone that seems like a vote against, understand, and ask yourself some of the following questions. Is this important? What is the source? Okay, first off, what is the source? Do you admire this person? Does this person share your values? Are they bringing and have they brought real joy to your life? Did you know them long enough so that they earned your trust and you earned theirs? Are they someone important in your life? And so, in the case of this person who I mentioned, to use this kind of as a case study, uh, I would kind of answer no to all of these questions because, um, the time that I spent with this person, she had like a lot of barriers up, um, and actually, truthfully, we went on a date, um, and I spent a decent amount of money because I was open to investing in the potential of her and I, of us. Um, and I didn't really know her well enough because she didn't really let her guard down to say whether I found something admirable in her. I saw potential, but honestly, I didn't find anything admirable because I didn't really get to know this person that well. Um, does this person share my values? Honestly, I saw more evidence that this person did not. So after we finished the date, for example, despite us having kind of three mini dates in one, it was a long date. Um, we went for food, for a drink, for frozen yogurt as well, froyo. I did not get a thank you one time. That goes against my values of just, hey, like I'm here, my time is valuable. The money that I've had to earn that allows me the freedom to go out like this, to invest the time, and to spend the money, and to do so proudly as a man who wants to take a girl on a date. Um, a thank you is kind of a bare minimum thing. And this person actually bought something small for me without me expecting it on the date too. We kind of ran like a random errand, and it was like just a few bucks. But I immediately said thank you because that's pretty typical for how you show appreciation for something. But that wasn't reflected in my direction. And she did some other things that kind of made me think, push the trust needle internally for me in the other direction after the date, other than just not saying thank you. So, and that's also why, as I said earlier, I was considering just not even proceeding further with the date as well. So, anyway, getting back to you in this process, do you admire the person? Does this person share your values? Did they earn your trust? Did you spend enough time with them to earn theirs? Are they someone important in your life? If no, make a conscious, explicit note of that. Put it in your pocket, but make a conscious, explicit note of that. And then let's move on to the next question. The words, and see what you're going to see develop here as you answer these questions is, any sort of emotional reaction or discomfort that you feel from that you felt initially from, oh, this person's judging me. You're going to find that that's just going to melt away as you answer these questions, okay? And you're going to realize what is true and what is not. So, plus, because it's going to be helpful too, because you're by journaling and writing it down, you're going to be externalizing too. So that also just helps as well. Anyway, moving forward, next question is the words, work, or behavior that this person judged you negatively for, was it authentically you being you? The words, work, or behavior this person judged you negatively for, was the situation you authentically being you? Make a note of this. Be honest with yourself. Yes or no. Were you being real? Okay. Were you being real? If you weren't being real, if you weren't being authentic, then no need to proceed, I think, to the next question, because being inauthentic is wrong, and it's because it's unhealthy for you. And the person might be judging you on a false premise. The premise being that who you were that they perceived was not you, actually, not you. However, if they judged you for something, for something that was authentically being you, you're going to start to realize, well, okay, maybe if it was really me and this person is saying, I don't like that, then I don't want to spend time with that person because, hey, like you were being honest. And furthermore, think about it. If they're judging you based on one single or simple interaction or something, and that by itself kind of flipped them into judgment mode, do you really want to be with that person in terms of investing any more time or, any other emotion or money, or just anything in terms of a relationship? Do you really want to invest in that person? Probably not. Because if you were being authentic, okay, let's go on to this last and final question. Assuming that you were being authentic, the words, work, or behavior that you believe this person judged you for, and this assumes that you know and have a high certainty of what the cause is. In my case, I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. That work or words or behavior where you were, it is assumed, being authentic, and where it again is assumed that you have some high certainty that that was the cause of the incoming judgment or criticism, is it something that you are actually proud of? Is the behavior or work or words something that you're proud of? If it was on the front page of every news website globally and everyone knew about it, even if you found it to be, I don't know, like sort of like shy about it, or maybe it was embarrassing for some reason. And this is different from pride, because the source of pride is, the root of pride is actually self-esteem, a sense of self-value and value that can stand independently of you and independently of anyone else's judgments, because that is what is true. Anyone can criticize or judge anyone or anything as terrible, horrible, great, mediocre, whatever. But we believe that through logic and reasoning, and through the conviction of your own mind, that value exists and can and does exist independently of 100% of everyone judging you or judging something or whatever the subject matter is. Something can have value and merit and stand on its own too. And the same is true for you as a person. Is it possible you might feel, and it's possible in this case, you're going to feel competing emotions. Maybe you feel embarrassment, shyness, guilt, shame, or pride. These are some of the competing emotions that you might feel when it comes to, assuming again that this was an authentic self-expression. So if there's some shame competing there, you want to ask yourself, well, what is it that you truly believe? The act or the work or the words, is it a representation of something that is true in you? What is at the root of it? Okay. So let's say, for example, that you created a painting. Okay. And let's say that painting, someone who you thought you might like, might want to have a friendship with, a relationship, or maybe they were just a person on the street walking by and they saw this painting that you had hung up in a window or in a museum, whatever, and they came over to the painting and they said, "Oh my God, this painting is hideous. It's absolutely deplorable, horrible, the worst thing ever." Okay, so you go through this process and then you arrive at this question. What do you truly believe? The work itself was authentic to you as a painting, something personal. You were the artist who made it. Is the act, is the work, is the painting itself a representation of what you believe to be true? Well, probably yes. I mean, you painted it in the mode of authenticity. So, it might make some people uncomfortable, but fuck it. Fuck it. I mean, this is you. This is real. And it's a representation of what you believe, what you value, and who you are as a person. And so if you go through these steps, as I've just described here, you're going to find again that any sort of emotional resistance that you had, any sort of uncomfortable negative emotion where you're like, oh, I feel whenever this person judged me, blah, 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 you're going to feel it all melt away. Um, because fundamentally, in the case of the example of the painting, do you believe that the world is a better place with that painting out there? Even if everyone criticized it, judged it, called it horrible? If yes, then fuck them, and not like literally like, oh, fuck them, like they're a piece of garbage because they criticized you or something that was personal to you. No, more like, fuck their opinion, right? Fuck their opinion because you know what you believe, you know who you are.